Time for another installment of Oh My God.
But here's Lou Dobbs sitting down with Bill O'Reilly.
Personal Choice segment tonight. The Census Bureau reports that 43 million Americans are currently living in poverty. The Bureau defines poverty as a family of four earning less than $22,000 a year. But the Conservative Heritage Foundation says that...
Now let's think about that. A family of four making $22,000 a year or less. Holy cow.
How does one person live on $22,000 or less?
I mean, I spend 12 grand on food alone, and for me, that's just for me. Okay, so here we go. But the Heritage Foundation came out with a study.
Many poor American families have lots of stuff. Here now to analyze, Fox Business anchor Lou Dobbs. All right, so you have the chart. I have the charts. This is ownership based on the Heritage Foundation and the U.S. Department of Energy Residential Energy Consumption Survey of 2005.
Right.
So this is a 6-year-old survey.
A 6-year-old survey.
You got to see these improve.
Absolutely, in the sense.
So this is a survey from the Heritage Foundation, which lists all the stuff that American poor people own. Like, I haven't seen the chart. I'm not sure exactly what they're talking about, but you don't really need to because here it comes.
The Census Bureau suggests that they, in fact, have improved.
82% have a microwave. This is 82% of American poor families.
82% of people have a microwave.
So how can you say you're poor when you're capable of heating up a Hot Pocket?
That's not, I mean, that's like rich.
Yeah.
That's only for elite people to have a microwave to...
78% have air conditioning. More.
I'm assuming a butler turns that on and off.
Yes,
Yeah,
for that.
yeah.
Sure, yeah.
More than one television, 65%. Cable or satellite TV.
First of all, I have a TV on my phone, okay? It's not a big deal to have a TV anymore. You can get a
Right.
TV at a garage sale for a nickel.
I gave away a TV for free, a 27-inch TV yesterday for free.
There you go. Okay, well, you know, you're probably because you're rich.
64%. Thank God.
64% have cable TV is what he just said.
Amen, brother.
Cell phones, 55%. Personal computer, 39%. And as we said, that's a 6-year-old consumption survey, so these numbers are way up. So how can you be so poor and have all this stuff?
Well, that's what Robert Rector at the Heritage Foundation in this study is pointing out. That most families living in defined poverty, that is at less than $22,000 a year in income, have not only a microwave, but they have an oven, they have a dishwasher, they have a dryer, they have if they have children, Xboxes and PlayStations are in the home, and the typical family defined as poor by the government.
So we need to see them in the Dust Bowl washing clothes on a washboard to be in poverty. That's what...
It never happens that poor people have to make a decision between paying a medical bill or paying their mortgage or paying their rent or buying groceries for their kids. That never happens. That's what they're implying. They're implying here that these guys are like, yeah, when they say poor, they don't mean like they're hungry and they can't see a doc. No, that's exactly what they mean. They have a microwave and they have so poor people in America are just fat, lazy people sitting at home eating microwave pizza.
That's the subtext.
Eating microwave pizza and playing with their Xboxes. And you have to pay for them.
That's what Fox News is so good at, is putting the subtextual message out there in terms of selective facts. They're
With
genius.
plausible deniability.
Genius.
So, and is there anything? I mean, is there anything that resonates more with your sense of fairness than two asshole millionaires sitting around telling the poor how good they have it?
Yeah.
I mean, who would know better, right, than two guys who've been millionaires? And okay, it gets worse.
Can we just say that the Heritage Foundation is their source?
Yes.
So here's what happened. The Heritage Foundation took some numbers, made up some bullshit numbers, and then they're reading it on air as if it's a real report.
Yes.
Okay, just so we're clear.
Yeah, it's you're not saying anything that's secret to say that the Heritage Foundation is a conservative foundation, so obviously they're going to skew their stuff this
He
way.
said point blank,
Yeah.
the Conservative Heritage Foundation released this.
Yes, point blank. And isn't it amazing all the things that poor people have? They have microwaves and televisions and wash machines.
It is really extraordinary to think about these conveniences that are enjoyed by the people for whom we give great care and consideration. That is,
Oh my God! There you have it.
For these people who
we give great consideration
and great care.
Now, look, I'm not saying the government should step in and save these people.
They're sitting there demonizing the poor people.
Right, but to demonize them, isn't there someplace in between stepping in and saving people?
Like I guess he never saw that Hoop Dreams. I remember about 10 years ago there was that documentary Hoop Dreams, and it documented two poor black kids who were trying to make it out of the ghetto by playing basketball. And I'll never forget, like often during the course of them filming, that one kid's electricity got turned off. Mm-hmm. He didn't have any hot water to shower. He didn't have electricity to do anything, and he still had to go to school as a kid and go across town to try to make it to the school that was out of his bed. So it's like, you've never seen a documentary about how poor people live in this country, Lou? You've never read a book about it or nothing? You've never... Well, here we go. It gets better.
The poor. But those of us who still think back to when we were younger, who didn't have a television set, we were poor. We didn't get a television set till I was in high school.
Yeah, well,
because they were more expensive.
They were
back
way more
then.
expensive. Yeah,
they were a major piece of furniture at that time.
And not everyone had them.
Right. Exactly. They were, again, you couldn't get them at a garage sale for a nickel, Lou. Okay.
We didn't feel like we'd missed a lot at that point. They didn't have cable then.
No, because you had medical care, Lou. You had you had 3 square meals a day. You had your electricity. You probably lived in a house.
And the tax rate on millionaires was
90%.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tax rate on millionaires when you were a kid was 90%, and they didn't feel poor, did they?
But, it's really interesting to see what a middle-class family then and a middle-class family now
certain poverty is defined, but what I think this is all about is the underground economy.
Now, here it comes. Here comes my favorite part, the underground economy.
That a lot of people who report low wages are making a ton of money. Not a ton. But
yes, Bill.
Oh,
they're loaded.
The people who have to work for cash are waiters, waitress.
They're making decent money off the books. Tips for waiters and waitresses. Look, I gave a guy $20 the other day to do something for me. It was.
You've got to file a form 1099
to find a fact to help bolster my argument.
Yeah, I have to make up some BS fact. I gave a guy $20 the other day to shine my shoes, and those guys are rolling in it.
If I was his waiter, I would so whiz in his drink. It's not even
these
funny.
waiters, they're making all the money. That's who has all the money. I don't know if you guys know who have all the money. Mm-hmm. Waiters, waitresses, and to a lesser extent, the teachers.
Yeah.
And you can tell the fact that if it's true that he gave someone $20, it's like it looms large in Bill O'Reilly's head. He'll be telling that story like in 30 years. I gave this guy $20 one time just to do something for me.
Just to actually...
I couldn't believe how generous I was.
To do something I didn't want to do myself, some kind of physical labor. And I just gave him $20 for it. It gets worse.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
Oh, we know. Absolutely. You're talking about people who are scraping by, who work on tips, who don't have a steady income, who
have no health insurance.
No health insurance. Those people. Those people, you know what I'm talking about.
Lording their untreated cancer over you.
Yeah. There's a lot of off-the-books money floating around, which is why I want a national sales tax. And
so what he's saying is, what he's trying to tell you is, don't feel bad about the fact that our economy right now is shifting into the income inequality is the greatest in our country's history right now, even worse than the Gilded Age. Workers' pay has stayed flat for the last 40 years. Ignore all that, because people are making money hand over fist under the table, and they've got Xboxes, microwaves, and wash machines at home.
Hold on, they're making the money under the table? Are you saying they have tables? These people are just rolling in it.
And then he wants to have a regressive tax.
Here we go. Yeah, here's that's why he wants to have a national sales tax, so we can have those people start paying their fair share. The poor, again, are not paying their fair share to stay in this country, right? They're only working and getting paid under the table. This is working.
The income tax thing's lower because the government would then derive more money. But that's what I think.
Yeah, that's what we want, is this government to get more money. But I
want the government, not this government.
Oh,
okay. I mean, I want the government to have enough money to protect us and to build decent roads and do those things.
Your point,
and then he stops. He doesn't. First of all, they're not building decent roads. They're not doing what happened, Bill. And to do what? I would like to hear what he really wants government to do. I would be good to hear, but we don't get into
about
that.
The underground economy here is interesting, and it's and I think that it has great merit in that people are not focusing on the fact that we've got over $1 trillion in the so-called underground economy.
You bet.
And
Yes.
as
we
look
need
at
to
all
squeeze it from the poor people to balance the budget. That's what they're saying.
Yes, they have $1 trillion.
Oh, my God.
There's $1 trillion in that underground economy that we can get. There isn't $1 trillion in the underground
The
economy.
$1 trillion, the underground economy of trillions of dollars. That's
You look
right.
under those sofa cushions at that garage sale.
He's talking about drug dealers. He's talking about and by the way, there are like a handful of drug dealers
Right.
who make money.
Yes.
And then everybody who works for them statistically make like minimum wage.
Okay.
So
They work for dope normally, right?
Yeah, they don't work for but what he's talking, if there's $1 trillion in the underground economy, it's because it's in
He's
drugs.
talking
in the
about
hands
drug
of-
sales.
Yeah.
You know, are there people that abuse the system? Absolutely. But to make it sound as if they are the majority of it is just so
If you were-
egregious, especially if you call yourself a Christian.
If you were a millionaire, Paul, and I'm not saying you're not.
I'm not.
If you were a millionaire, and would you be caught dead, in private, let alone publicly, speaking about how good the poor have it?
No. No,
If
I
you
would not.
really say, come on, you guys. I gave a waiter $20 yesterday. You think he's going to record that? He's not going to tell anybody about it. These guys got it made. This is so mind-blowingly mind-blowing. And here it gets even better.
the issues that surround that. Tax is one of them. Illegal immigration. Unemployment itself is hard to measure because a lot of the folks who are quote unquote underemployed are also being paid off the books.
That's true.
Yes, exactly. These people who say they're unemployed, they're working.
They're getting all that
They're
sweet
all-
babysitting
they're
money,
getting all
man.
that sweet.
You can't get a complete handle on it, but this is a bad economy. But let's get back to the poverty issue. We don't want to we're not diminishing the suffering that the poor people have. I mean,
No, you are.
That's
That's exactly what you're doing.
I rode around South Carolina, interestingly enough, a couple of months ago, and you're looking at these shotgun houses and these people living in dilapidated. And yeah, inside they probably have a few modern conveniences, but this is no day at the beach.
Right.
But there is a reason for poverty in America. There's almost always a reason attached to it. It is not the capitalist system's fault. It's usually personal responsibility or something like that.
Okay, so what he's saying is we're not diminishing the suffering poor people have. No, we're just telling you that it ain't that bad. And those so-called poor people are mostly a bunch of whiners, except for some people I saw in South Carolina. But remember, there's always a reason when people are poor, and that reason usually ends up being it's their own stupid
It's their own fault. Yeah,
Am
Bill
I
O'Reilly
right?
says that all the time. He said that in when Katrina was happening. He was saying that the people who were suffering from Katrina, it was their own fault. They didn't take personal responsibility. They didn't take care of themselves, and it shouldn't be the government's job to go in and do anything about them. I mean, that's like a very common thing of O'Reilly.
Because it allows them to sleep better at night. And not that he should spend his income trying to save people, but
He shouldn't
to
go on
ignore
television.
to ignore the elephant in the room, which is that corporations have lobbied Congress to ship all of their jobs overseas, and towns are drying up.
Yes.
That's the elephant in the room.
Yes, and we're spending all our money to prop up the banks. We're not investing in America. Meanwhile, we're borrowing money not to bring jobs to America or to hire teachers, cops, or firemen. But we're borrowing money so we can have pointless wars in foreign countries.
And pay off our
and by
credit
the way,
card.
we're destroying the education system. in
While
this
we're
country.
cutting education, health care for regular peoples. And the reason for people being poor, according to Bill O'Reilly, it's that there's personal responsibility, which means they aren't good people.
Right.
They are irresponsible, and being poor is really a moral failing. It's a moral failing to be poor,
And
is what he's saying.
It's an incredible virtue to be rich, no matter how.
Being rich is what
you got the money.
It's a moral failing to be poor,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure, Frank, that's exactly what Jesus would say, right? I mean, Jesus was for the poor, but he was like, hey, there's a reason you're poor, isn't it?
Right,
You're a little
right.
irresponsible.
You didn't read that thing in the Bible that says it's easier for a rich man to get into heaven than to pass through the eye of
for
a
a
needle,
camel?
except for a needle made at Hammacher Schlemmer.
And I think part of the
Cartier.
reason that all these poor deadbeats get away with it is because they have they've invested a lot in lobbyists in Washington, the poor people who get paid off the books lobbyists who are always trying to get legislation done.
Oh, yeah, that waiters, babysitters.
Yeah.
I always think WPPWD. What poor person would Jesus demonize?
And also, tips are supposed to. They're reported.
Tips are
because when I was a waiter back, back at the Copa in the 40s, like then it was all, it was genuinely off the books, but they consciously changed that, and I remember it was like controversial.
It was Ronald Reagan when he started to say that you have to start paying taxes on your tips, and because he was a friend of the working man, a friend of the people. I mean, we have to start shifting that tax burden from the people who have all the money to the people who don't.
Right.
So and I love the stat they always like to throw around. You know that half of America doesn't pay any income tax. It all goes to the other half, the middle. You mean the people who have income? So it's shocking to people to realize the amount of people who don't make enough income in America to actually qualify to pay income tax, and they can't get a handle on that. So what they do is they have the Heritage Foundation come out with a study that says, no, these poor people are they're raping you. The poor people are sitting at home eating pizza and playing Xboxes while you go out and work all day. So don't feel bad about it, and don't feel bad about that your country's going down the toilet right now, because you have yours. And I'm going to have two millionaires, one who's known for demonizing immigrants and blaming her.
And who contributed to the underground economy by hiring illegal for his horse farm in New Jersey.
And Bill O'Reilly was just admitting to contributing to the underground economy. Anyway, so that's how we do it. You don't have to feel bad that our system is rigged. You don't have to feel bad that our system is rigged against working people. You don't have to feel sad about that or bad about that. You have yours and someone else doesn't have theirs. That because if they don't have it, it's because they're bad people. And Jesus rewards good people with money. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. And so any closing words on any of this, you guys?
Ugh.
Yeah.
How's that?
Okay.
It's
This has been Oh My God.
Oh my God!
Today's show was produced by Ali Lexa, and today's show was written by Robert Yasumura, Mike McRae, Frank Conniff, Steve Rosenfield, and Steph Zamorano. I want to thank my guests for sitting in, Paul Gilmartin, Frank Conniff, and Robert Yasumura. And until next week, be the best you can be, and I'll keep being me.